What if some of Hollywood's greatest legends were also among its most difficult people? Behind the glamour, elegant premieres, and unforgettable performances were explosive tempers, ruthless egos, and behavior the industry never forgot. Some controlled everyone around them, while others humiliated co-stars, abused their power, and left lasting emotional scars. Their talent made them legends, but their reputations told a very different story. Today, we're uncovering the hidden side of classic Hollywood. Stay until the end, because some of these stories may completely change the way you see cinema's greatest icons. Hollywood Legend No. 1. Otto Preminger. Otto Preminger was one of Hollywood's most admired, and most feared, directors. Films like Laura and Anatomy of a Murder made him a major force in classic cinema, but his conduct on set often overshadowed his achievements. He ruled through intimidation, harsh criticism, public humiliation, and relentless pressure, leaving many actors emotionally drained. During The Cardinal, Tom Tryon was reportedly fired, rehired, and humiliated in front of his parents simply to reinforce Preminger's authority. Actresses also claimed he reduced them to tears. Although his films remain highly respected, many who worked with him remembered his productions as cruel, exhausting, and painful both on and off the set. Legend No. 2. Harry Cohn. Harry Cohn was one of the most feared men in classic Hollywood. As the powerful head of Columbia Pictures, he could make or end careers with a single decision, and his unpredictable temper kept employees in constant fear. Even routine meetings felt like interrogations, made even more intimidating by an office where visitors had to cross a long room under his silent stare. Cohn also developed a dark reputation for mistreating actresses and using his authority to pressure women seeking work. Even after his death, stories about his cruelty and arrogance endured, making him a lasting symbol of the studio era's darkest excesses. Legend No. 3. Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock transformed suspense cinema with classics like Rear Window, Vertigo, North by Northwest, and Psycho. While his technical brilliance made him one of Hollywood's greatest directors, his off-screen behavior remains deeply controversial. Hitchcock demanded absolute control and left little room for disagreement or improvisation. Actress Tippi Hedren later claimed he became punitive after she rejected his advances. During The Birds, she endured exhausting scenes with live birds that were far harsher than expected, and she also alleged that Hitchcock later used his influence to restrict her career. Other actors described his practical jokes and manipulative behavior as unsettling rather than amusing. His films remain timeless, but the stories surrounding his treatment of performers continue to fuel debate over genius, power, and abuse in classic Hollywood. Legend No. 4. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin transformed silent cinema forever. His Little Tramp character became a worldwide symbol of hope, humor, and resilience, while City Lights, Modern Times, and The Great Dictator helped shape film history. Yet his private life generated lasting controversy. He repeatedly entered relationships with very young women, including marriages to teenage brides. The Joan Barry paternity case in the 1940s further damaged his reputation, even though medical evidence suggested he was not the father. His outspoken political views also made him a target during the Red Scare, contributing to the backlash that eventually drove him out of the United States. Despite his extraordinary influence on cinema, his legacy remains fiercely debated because his artistic genius and personal conduct stood in such sharp contrast. Legend No. 5. John Ford. John Ford is remembered as one of America's greatest directors, with Stagecoach, The Searchers, and The Grapes of Wrath redefining the Western and inspiring generations of filmmakers. Behind that success, however, was a reputation for intimidation. Ford believed emotional pressure produced stronger performances, often criticizing actors in front of the cast and crew to humiliate them. During Mr. Roberts, an argument with his longtime friend Henry Fonda reportedly became physical, permanently damaging their friendship. Other actors never knew whether they would receive praise or become the target of Ford's temper, and even John Wayne endured constant insults and public criticism throughout many productions. Legend No. 6. Sean Connery. Sean Connery became a global icon as the first James Bond, with his confidence, charisma, and commanding screen presence making him one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Away from the camera, however, he faced criticism for comments suggesting that slapping a woman could sometimes be justified under certain circumstances. More than 20 years later, he indicated that his views had not significantly changed, reigniting the controversy. Connery also developed a reputation for being stubborn and difficult on some productions, with directors and co-stars describing frequent creative confrontations. Supporters often pointed to his difficult childhood in Scotland and determination to overcome poverty as shaping his personality, but his public remarks continued to spark debate long after his greatest films became classics. Legend No. 7, Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas earned worldwide admiration through unforgettable performances in Spartacus, Paths of Glory, and Lust for Life. He was also respected for challenging Hollywood's blacklist during one of the industry's most controversial eras. Yet despite those achievements, his personal reputation became increasingly complicated. Years after his death, actress Lana Wood publicly alleged that Douglas had sexually assaulted her sister, Natalie Wood, when she was a teenager. Douglas never faced charges over the allegation, which reignited debate about powerful figures in Hollywood and the treatment of young actresses during the studio era. He was also known for numerous affairs and a long-standing reputation as a womanizer, with stories about his relationships frequently appearing in newspapers and gossip columns. At the same time, many who knew him later in life described a man who openly reflected on his mistakes and devoted himself to his family. His legacy remains one of Hollywood's most complicated, balancing extraordinary achievements with deeply troubling allegations. Legend No. 8, Frank Fay. Before television transformed comedy, Frank Fay was one of America's biggest entertainment stars. His quick wit and conversational style helped shape modern stand-up comedy and influenced generations of performers. But his success was overshadowed by a reputation for arrogance, a harsh temper, and offensive remarks. Fellow entertainers often described him as dismissive and nearly impossible to work with, while his outspoken prejudice and controversial public comments pushed many colleagues away. His marriage to Barbara Stanwyck was also surrounded by reports of emotional control and abusive behavior, with friends claiming he tried to dominate both her career and personal life. Although historians continue to recognize his influence on stand-up comedy, his legacy is often overshadowed by the reputation he built behind the scenes. These stories aren't meant to erase their achievements or rewrite film history. Instead, they remind us that Hollywood's biggest stars were often far more complicated than the polished images presented to the public. Understanding both their brilliance and their failures gives us a fuller picture of classic Hollywood's fascinating past. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. And let us know in the comments which Hollywood legend surprised you the most, and which classic star you'd like us to explore next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.